Hi, it's Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton, and today we're back in the kitchen where we're going to be teaching you guys how to can, ready? Ground beef. Okay, is that the Heisman loaf there? Okay, this is 5 pounds of ground beef. Hubby left to go get me another 5 pounds. That should be enough to at least do 7 1.5 pint jars. And I will show you the size of the jar that we're talking about. I do have a sanitized setting on my dishwasher, so we're getting those all washed up. I hand washed them, put them in the dishwasher, washed them again. I just don't want, like I said, if you don't put it in, you're not going to get it out. So we don't want any botulism going in or any bacteria going in, so we don't have any problem with it coming back out. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got the canner all washed and cleaned up. And I've got a little bit more water than normal because you're talking about, let me turn this back on. You're talking about this running for 90 minutes. I'm at 1,000 feet or less above sea level, my altitude. So we're going to can this for 10 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes, okay? And you want to make sure that your canner doesn't go dry. So what we've done here is we've put in an extra couple of cups of water in here. I just don't want this going dry. You can ruin your canner and you can break all your jars if you do that. So just be sure and put the extra water in. It's a good idea. Here I have my boiling water bath. And I'm just going to keep my jars in here. And I did put just a little bit of vinegar in here, and I put a little bit of white vinegar in here as well. Okay? Here I've got the lids. We're gonna in sterile water, and what we're gonna do here, and I like using, believe it or not, I like using distilled water or even bottled water when I do this because our city water is so bad with lime and stuff, and I don't want to put vinegar in this pot. But you don't want to, on your lids here, you don't want to get these over about 180 degrees to 200 degrees. You don't want to get any hotter than that because you can ruin the seal by getting them too hot. Okay, you just want to get the gum on the seal a little, pliable. All right, so that's where we're at, and we're going to come right back. I'm going to get the water in the canner up to like a steamy hot, where it's got like a little bit of bubbles in it. Not really simmering too much. A very, very low simmer, and that way it'll come up to a pressure a lot quicker, and this will also help to warm the canner as well. Okay, now we're being really careful. I spent all day sterilizing the kitchen, and I am not cross-contaminating anything. We had dinner early. I've got everything washed. We are ready to rock and roll on this, folks, and we're going to see, well, let's go ahead and get started here. You don't want to use your brand new rags for this. You just want nice, clean tea towels, but they don't have to be your new ones, because trust me, especially if you're making jam or something with a coloring dye in it, like berries or something, because it will stain your good tea towels. And then I just use some fresh napkins straight from the store, and then I dip these into a little bit of either warm or hot steamy vinegar or vinegar water, or just a little bit of the water that my lids come in. But I never use tap water on this, or soap, okay? And I just use clean napkins, and I grab a different napkin for every different jar, and I'll show that to you here in just a minute. But we do want a stack of these to sit aside here. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to brown the ground beef. Now there are several ways that you can ground beef, but my method for canning this is you just brown your ground beef, and then you take and pour in a little bit of boiling water, or you can brown your ground beef and pour in a little bit of boiling beef broth or a beef base. Add that to your water, and that's all really good and great for soups and stews and things. But we're going to take this 80% lean, 20% fat. This is all they had in the big bulk right now. Usually I get to 12% fat, but that's all they had. And when you get this at home, you're going to want to use this, and you're going to want to can it up within 3 or 4 days, okay? You don't want to go any longer than that, or put it in the freezer, okay? But don't wait any more than 2 or 3 days, really. You shouldn't. So this has been day 2, so we're going to go ahead and get these in the canning jars and get it canned up. What I've done here is I've taken and I've just crumbled the ground beef up in here, and you can use rubber gloves. I did. That's why I turned the camera off for a minute. But you can crumble this up in here. Now there's two things you can do. You can make a beef broth for this. You can put in a beef broth that you have, a stock, and or some boiling water, or you can just fry it up how it is and then drain it off that way to dry can. That's how you want to do it. And to make this a softer meat, I am going to add a little bit of water to this when I boil it on the stove to brown it. And you can see here the meat's kind of covered here. I'm just going to kind of chop that up a little bit here with a knife. Pre-chop that. There we go. And if you want to season this, you can. Remember you should never really can sage, or at least not much of it, because it can turn bitter when you're canning over time in your canning jar. Just carried this over, and we're going to turn this on. If you want to spice this up a little bit, you can add a little bit of black pepper. I've got some pre-ground black pepper here. You can spice it up just a little bit. However, I add the spices to this when I use this in my cooking. Like if I'm making chili, I'm going to add spices anyway. So that's not necessary, okay? I was just showing you an example of what you could do. You know. Now, I've been asked if I add salt, and I have to tell you that I do. Okay, I add this pickling canning salt made just for canning. It won't cloud up your jar. It's by Mrs. Wages here. All right, and I add, for this 5 pounds, of ground beef, I add a half a teaspoon a pound. That's just me. Okay, and here I'm just going to put in 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of this beef base that I dehydrated and canned myself. It's a very, very, very good beef stock, and that's just to add a little bit of beef flavor to this water while I'm cooking it. Now this is my method of doing it, okay? If you want to, you can just brown this up and then strain it with a slotted spoon like this and put this directly into the hot canning jar. This is just my method. Alright, when we get this nice and brown, we will be right back. Kind of keep this chopped up nice and fine. Okay, we've got 2 5-pound containers of ground beef that we've added our salt and our beef base to. Okay, we're going to keep this on and keep it on low. Our canner is simmering and ready to go. And here is our first pot of beef right here. And in here, oops, don't want to get it all steamed out here. Okay, we've got 2 hot jars out of the dishwasher. We'll be sure and use a slotted spoon here. All right, and we're just going to fill up our jars. Remember, these are the 1.5 pint jars. Oh, probably about a pint and a half here holds about a pound of hamburger. And that works for me. There we go. We're just going to take this right here. I'm just going to kind of push it down in here. This right here, I use this to keep the rim of the jar from getting any grease on it. This helps to ensure the, you want to pack this real tight. Matter of fact, I'm going to push it down this side. I'm going to put in a little bit more. Now we can dry can this, and we can just go ahead and put the lid on it and can this up as it is. I'm going to go a little bit more here. But me, I like a little bit of broth in mine, and it will make a little bit of broth when you do it like that. So then we're going to take our ladle. Okay, we're going to take our ladle. And we're just going to fill this up with just a little bit of broth. Okay. A bit more. And we're going to be about a 1/2 inch from the top there. Okay. There we go. And we're going to get out any air bubbles. And you'll be surprised where these little air bubbles hide. There we go. There we go. Now we're going to take our clean napkin, dip it in that sterilized water, and we're going to wipe the rim. And you can use hot vinegar. Sometimes I'll use the hot vinegar, especially when we're working with grease. This is very hot, but I have asbestos fingers. Okay. And I did get a little bit of grease on this one, so. Now we're just going to take our lids that have been soaked in water that's 180 to 200 degrees. Not quite boiling. Remember, finger tight. Now we're just going to carry this. Isn't that beautiful? Now we're just going to carry this on over and we're going to set this into our canner. Here we go. And we will just finish filling the canner. Just going to fill another jar here. No more having to wait around to brown ground beef anymore, you know, for casseroles or whatever. Spaghetti sauces, whatever. I mean, it's just already going to be done. And this can cut off, you know, 15 to 20 minutes or more off your cooking time. Especially if you're a busy mom, and I have several companies, so I get pretty busy. See, it's already got quite a bit of juice in there. But I'm going to go ahead and add some. Okay. Here we go. Keep the fat off that rim. Put that down in that hot water. Now when you open a can of this, the fat will float to the top, and when you dump this out, you just cut that fat right off. And really, really well. There you go. That's good. All right. Make sure you got one lid instead of two. Get that centered, and remember, finger tighten. This is convenient. My dishwasher's just right there. Makes it perfect. So it looks like 10 pounds of ground beef. It's going to make me about 8 of these, it looks like. We'll see, 7 to 8. And my canner holds 8 1.5 pint jars, because these are wide mouth jars. And whenever you can 1.5 pint jars, I've not really found that the Blue Book canning guide really tells you how long to can with this size of jar. So I just go for the higher number, and I go for what it would be for quarts. Always go on the safe side and always go with the higher numbers. That's what my grandma taught me. That's what my mother taught me. And that's what I teach myself. Wipe off that rim really well. That really hot water will help take that grease off if I've touched it with that. Check for any cracks or breaks, and this one's fine. I touched it, so I'm going to drop that back down in that hot water. Center your lid. Give this a nice crank. There we go. All right, so it looks like it's going to make 3 1.5 pints. It takes about 12 pounds of ground beef to fill up an 8 1.5 pint canner. So these leftovers right here, my Siberian Husky is going to absolutely love. And here's number 2 right here. Okay, and what I had left here, as you can see here, is half meat, and I filled it up with some really good broth, and I kind of scooped off the yellow, which would have been the fat. And so here I've got, about a pint, almost a pint of beef in here with some broth, and I can use this in a soup or something, so that's fine. But I didn't want the canner to go empty, or I can even feed that to the dog. That's fine. I mean, it's good. It just isn't filled up all the way to the top with hamburger like you see here, okay? Waste not, want not. Now over here I have some really good broth here, and I'm going to put this in a container. I'm going to freeze this up for the puppy because my Siberian Husky loves this stuff. Now we've blown through our vent hole, okay? We've made sure that all the jars, 90 minutes is a long time to process with 10 pounds of pressure. So we're just going to make sure that everybody here's got their own little space, their own little room here. Try to make it so they don't hit the sides too much or hit each other. Kind of give them some space here. I did put a couple of dollops of vinegar in here. Now I'm just going to crank up the heat, and I'm going to place on the lid. And when you open this, when you're done, you want to be sure and open the lid away from you so you don't burn your face. You don't want to get a steam burn. Alright, so we're just going to line up the arrows. I've cleaned and oiled my gasket so everything slides here. Everything slides on here really easily. It should feel very smooth like that when you close it. Alright? You should replace your gasket at least every 2 or 3 years. You can call your home extension office, your local extension office, or your 4-H extension office, and they'll tell you how often you should replace that. But I replace mine about every 2 or 3 years. I replace my rubber ring. And I've kept mine pretty long, actually. I keep them in extra though, just in case I need one, and I keep them oiled. But this one right here, I put a little bit of grapeseed oil on it, and that seemed to work. A little olive oil or vegetable oil, that works. So don't forget to oil your gasket. Take it out, wash it, and oil it before you put it away and before you use it in the spring. That will keep it from cracking. Okay, so now we've just got this here. Now we're going to use 10 pounds of pressure. This is 5 pounds, just like this. This is 10 pounds. And like I said, those who live in a higher altitude, you probably would have to add the 15 pounds of pressure on. But you're still going to pressure cook this for the same amount of time, and that's 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half. Now we're not putting this on yet. We're just going to sit it aside here. And we are going to wait till this comes up to pressure. And when this vents and steams, you get a nice hard steam going, you'll be able to see it for 10 minutes. That's when we'll put on our pressure gauge, and that's when we'll start our timing. Okay, we're just going to set that time for 10 minutes, and that's going to help build the pressure up and heat everything up, and all the jars and all the meat and everything. That's going to help heat that up before we start our time and before we set on our rocker, our weight. I see the nipple just went up on this, so I know this is starting to gain pressure, and I haven't even put on the weight yet, but boy, I can really feel the steam right here. Be careful, you don't want to burn yourself. Now let this go for the full 10 minutes. Okay, our 10 minutes are up. We're just going to stick on our 10-pound weight. The nipple, like I said, has already came up. And when this starts rocking, it'll take about 4 or 5 minutes. And we'll regulate that with the temperature here, with the stove heat. And when we get that in nice steady rocking motion, it'll take about 5 minutes to make sure it's steady before you can really walk away from it. And you never want to go very far away from it either. Then we're going to set our timer for an hour and a half. That's 90 minutes. Okay, we have a nice even rocking motion going. And we're just going to keep adjusting this temperature down. Mine's usually about between the 3 and the 4, where it will maintain this motion for a good, 2 or 3 minutes without it, coming back down. This is a glass top, so it takes a little bit longer for it to come back down. If it was gas, you would notice that rocking motion change a lot quicker. So I have to kind of sit here and babysit it a little bit more. People have asked me, will this crack your glass top? Usually the reason why you get a glass top broken is because you get a debris around the ring, a sugar debris, and that will crack your glass top at high temperatures. And you can do that with anything, not just a pressure canner. And whenever you lift your canner up, you want to pick it up. You don't want to drag it, but you want to pick it up and carry it over to your other burner so you don't scratch your top. As far as it breaking goes, here, like for example, here I've got something a little spilled right here. I would definitely clean anything up, especially if that was sugar content, because that at a high temperature can break your glass top. And that's why canning on a glass top would be dangerous. If this is heat tempered, it would shatter. It wouldn't just crack it, it'd probably shatter it. So you just want to be careful when you have a glass top like that. But yeah, I definitely can on mine. As you can see, I can on mine. You can tell I use that burner more. I just use a little oil on that and that cleans that right up. Okay, so we will see you back here in an hour and 30 minutes. That's 90 minutes of canning time. And that's for beef. Okay, the alarm just went off. We can shut the stove down. And we're going to pick up our canner and we're going to set it aside here. And we're going to let this cool off until this calms down for about probably another 40-45 minutes. Depends on the temperature in the room. It's winter time, we have the heater on. But we've got it about 68 degrees in here, so it'll probably take about anywhere from 30, 35, 45 minutes for this little thing right here to drop. Now you don't want to touch this thing right here at all, okay? We're just kind of letting it kind of calm down a little bit before we move it here. Okay, now we've moved this over and set it aside. We'll let this kind of calm down. Now the nipple's still up. You don't want to touch any of this. Do not remove the rocker, the weight. Don't remove that. And then we're going to let this sit for about 35-45 minutes until this little nipple here drops. And when you hear a little tink and it is dropped, then you'll want to let it sit for probably, you'll take this piece off and let it sit for about another 5-10 minutes, and then you can remove the jars from the canner, depending on the temperature in the room. If you have your air conditioner running or whatever, even if you do not want to sit your jars directly onto granite or onto marble or cold tile, it will break them. You'll want to definitely lay down a soft cloth over the top of that, and that will prevent the bottoms from breaking and cracking. Remember, just sit this, make sure it's not in a draft, and do not touch them for 12 to 24 hours. After 12 hours, you should be able to test the tops, and they should be indented. And we'll show you how to do that in just a minute. This is my baby girl, Lexi. Lexi, what is that? You can almost reach the faucet, can't you? What is that? What is that? She stands here like this for a long time. What do you do? Sterilize the kitchen again. Well, I'm done canning for the night, I think, anyway. It's pretty late. Say goodbye. Lexi, speak. Speak. Oh, you're not going to talk to me? Speak. Okay, so the nipple has dropped. Everything's calm, and it's been sitting here, for probably around 15 to 20 minutes, beyond that. And I'm just going to unhook this. Okay, and remember when you unlock this that you want to open this away from you. That way it lets the steam not rise up into your face. That's very important because this is very hot. See all that steam? And this is protecting my face doing it this way. Okay. Alright. As you can see, we still have some water in the bottom. That's good. That's very good. And I think what I'm going to do is, because there's a cool temperature in here tonight, we have 0 temperatures out tonight. I'm saying it's probably around 65 degrees, 67 degrees in the house. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of let them sit here and kind of cool off for maybe another 10-15 minutes. And we'll be right back. We don't want these breaking, so we'll be right back. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start removing these. There's no water on top because I've let it sit here long enough. Wow, that is just absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. There we go. And there we have it. Now this is not a dry canned ground beef, but like I said, it would have made its own juices and you could have dry canned it, but you still want to cook the beef first, okay? But I decided that I like my method of way of doing it, and this is my method. There's other methods out there, but I hope you try this. I hope you enjoy this. And what you want to do is wait 12 to 24 hours after these have popped. And after 12 hours, you can just check the lid, make sure that it's down, it doesn't move. And then you want to remove the lids, and then you want to store these in a dark, cool place. Be sure and label them. The date that you canned it, and of course the product. This is just straight up ground beef. And you can even put, how you made it on some directions on one of the cans or on the box if you store this back in the box. But this is great for chilies and stews and soups and spaghettis and just anything that you would use ground beef for. Casseroles, taco bakes. I mean, that's probably a lot of what we're going to use it for. We like a lot of taco salads and things here. So this is perfect. And there's some refried beans and some sour cream and some lettuce. And you got some great taco salads. Get the rest of these out of the canner as well. Mind you, they're not popping yet, but they will. They're pretty hot. Let me get you hot. Don't want to burn you, puppy. Wow, and this is the one that had the half the beef and half the liquid, which that's fine. I was still able to get a full can of doing it that way. And that will be great in some soup because I'll already have the beef broth in with the hamburger. And there we have it. Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton, and I hope you come along for the ride on our next video where we have Fun Day Sunday and we read some more fan mail and some gifts and some recipe challenges from my fans and viewers. And if you have a recipe you want to send in a gift for either Lexi or for the kitchen or recipe gift, that is fine. Just send it to 2918 Alba, ALBA, Alba Drive. That's Lebanon, Indiana. Whoop, did you hear that? 46052, and we'll be sure and put you on our Fun Day Sunday. For now, this is Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. Blessings. Oh, is that good? You smell the roast beef. You smell the ground beef, don't you, girl? You smell the ground beef. Oh, okay, get down, Snow Dog. It's snowing outside. She likes it. Oh, the Snow Dog likes it. Oh, the Snow Dog likes it. You smell the ground beef, don't you? She gets the leftover juices, don't you, for your dog food? Oh, yummy. Hi, it's Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. We're back today. It's about 14 hours after we canned our ground beef. And I just wanted to show this to you. You can see here we've got a little bit of the fat content that raised to the top. When I uncanned this, all my top sealed. Just push on it, make sure it's sealed. And it did. At this point, you can wash your jars. I definitely suggest that you take some clean vinegar and water and you clean your jars really well. Now, you'll see in here, this fat ring here. When you go to dump this out, just spoon off this fat ring here. My dog loves this stuff, so, and I hope you give my canned ground beef a try. Enjoy.